Are you comfortable being uncomfortable? There used to be the general theme that I had back in university, in college, where I was like, oh yeah, I'm someone who really wants to just get really good at being comfortable, being uncomfortable. And I start with that question here because right before I hit record, I knew I was going to come out and share something with you. And the feeling that I got was a body cringe followed by an audible like an, an actual sigh because I'm like, oh, I don't want to go here. I don't want to have to actually say this here. And for me, I have found that on my outlier journey, on my trailblazer journey, I have several things that act as a compass, several things that helps me know what's the direction that I should be headed into, even if I don't know where the end destination is. And one of those things at the destination is to actually speak truth to what I'm feeling inside, especially when it feels uncomfortable or dangerous. And it's in these micro moments that I do it in a situation like this that allows me to have the confidence and the courage to do it in moments that really matter. Moments with my clients, moments with the team that I lead, moments with people that are making impact in the world, and others that are making impact without knowing it. And so it's what allows me to have a seat at the table in many rooms that I'm in because of the practice that I have right now. So while all that can sound good, if I don't actually say what came up, that made me we'd be missing it all. Right. And so I'm going to practice that for you right here. There's an element. I just got on a phone call with someone and I shared something that happened to me this morning. So I made a declaration that with the Outlier the Trailblazer podcast, we have 5 podcast conversations going out each week. And this morning I had what I'll call a sobering moment. It was just something where I'm working with a team, and what I don't want you to know is I saw the invoice and I was like, oh, wait, hold on, what? You know? And it's not from the standpoint of like, oh, I'm surprised of what the dollar amounts were. Like we've been, the person I work with, the people I work with are incredibly transparent. We're completely there. But you know how sometimes you just need to see it. You need to be in your hands, or it needs to be visible. And then you get a chance to actually see it for what it truly is. And it gave me a chance in that moment to ask myself, okay, with all of this, what am I getting from it? Right? What's the return on this investment? And honestly, I want to come out in front of you all. This is the part that like feels cringeworthy. It's like I want to come out in front of you all and just be like, totally fine. I was like, I know exactly what's going to do. It woke me up. I woke up at 5 a.m. in the morning and I was like, oh, this was on the mind. I need to figure this out. But I knew that I couldn't figure it out from the place that I was coming at, the place of fear, place of scarcity and lack and just overall confusion. And so I went on a walk and actually initiated my morning routine earlier and spent about 2 hours really just getting into alignment. And I ended up coming out of that experience with a feeling that like, actually the team is doing everything right. But my overall intention is to build a community. And right now, just having these episodes come out isn't really injecting the soul that I'm really looking for. So I'm going to make the decision to bring this back down to 1 time a week so that we can then put our energy into other types of things that might be bringing in more energy and really living up to the vision of community. And I had the pleasure of talking to someone right before this call, and she's someone I really respect. And she knew to ask, she's like, so how are things going with the podcast 5 times a week and everything? And I was like, well, actually, now that you ask, I told her what I was thinking. And what I remember from that experience is her response to it, which was like, oh, I get that. I've been there. And it feels odd to make a pivot, but like what I'm hearing is that you have an intention, you have an objective, you have a mission that you're created, which is to really bring together a unique community of outliers and trailblazers to do something that they couldn't do out in the world otherwise. And the current path that you've had 20 episodes come out in a month. Like the current path you're on is not necessarily leading you to where you're going. So yeah, there's a pivot. but it's all in service of the actual thing. What you're trying to get done has not changed. And I felt myself relax. And I told her, I was like, I'm really grateful for you because you're someone I respect. And in this one, I was able to tell this one person this story and to let her know. And I know, and in my mind, I was like, I'm not to go and tell all these other people that I've made declarations to. I'm like, I don't even know if I've told the people on the podcast that it's going to be 5 times a week, but I know I need to still own that I'm making this shift here and to go through this process. And it's interesting because 3 hours ago, this was something I wouldn't want anyone to know. And now we're starting out this conversation, and unprompted, I'm sharing it. And so this element here, and there's a freedom that comes up. You will see the different other types of activities that we have planned. There's just a lot that I want to do. And this, the podcast was only one of it, so you're going to see the results of that there. But I want to make sure that I am also sharing the inner journey that I'm going through as you see the outer results out there. So it's cringeworthy because it's my compass. And now it's great. I'm free. It's out in the world. We're moving down to 1 episode a week until we come back up to 5. That's still part of my intention. And we're going to create different ways for us to actually come together and experience it. Honestly, if you haven't yet, go to niiamah.ashong.com/tribe and come to an upcoming experience, because that's what's up right now. That's where we're spending our time. And this idea here of just having community is really at the core of everything right now. And so right in a little bit, I'm going to be inviting Gilad onto the conversation. Gilad is someone who I'm really thrilled to be a part of this community. He's an outlier in his own unique ways. And he's also someone who is creating a community of his own. And so let's use that here as our base foundation to start off what will be an amazing conversation. Gilad, I am really, really happy that we get the chance to come together and we can play today. I've gone ahead and unmuted you. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Niiamah. I appreciate it. And conversations with you are always powerful. And you always end up with good food for thought after. So I'm excited to see in 45 minutes what will be the insights.
Yeah. So am I. I'm like 45 minutes. Oh, we have I'm luxurious in the time.
Yeah.
And let's do this here. Let's make sure that we're using that time to actually help you with the things that really matter for you. Before we get into all that, I'm going to spend most of the time just focused on coaching and serving you. But what I found is that there's service even in just speaking yourself into the room, right? Mm-hmm. You're someone who I'm happy with the way that you showed up, which is why I've asked you to be a part of this conversation, why I wanted to come and serve you. I love to get a chance to get to know you from the standpoint of some of that outer journey of yours, the things that you've done, your accomplishments, your bio. Feel free to enter the brag zone. But if someone's going to say this was Gilad from what they see with you on the outside, on the surface, what would that be?
Let's see, where I started my professional journey in a way in serving the special forces. You're going in when you're 18, 3 years of service in high pressure environments, high functioning environments, where people really being tested, leaders, human skills really being tested. I've been there for 3 years. After playing basketball throughout my childhood and high school, which was my biggest passion, I decided to put it aside and join the Special Forces as a bigger mission and serving my country. Towards the end of my service, a couple of injuries and, asking myself what's next, the basketball bug came in again. And I started a journey which I had no clue where it will go. Very small in a 4th league team that paid me 0 money at this time. 10 years later, I had a 10-year career doing the thing that I love the most, being a professional basketball player and pursuing that, and it was about 15 years of doing two things that I pursued with all of my passion, intention, and every bit of energy I had in my body, which at one part felt amazing. It's both seeing things that coming into them, I was like, I really don't know if I'll make it in. I really don't know how far I'll go, but I love it and I'm passionate about it. Let's do that. Looking back, I'm like, that's unbelievable that actually happened, and that's unbelievable that this was the last 15 years of my life. But for me, a lot of it was the inner game, which is, when you realize of course, it's more important than what's going on the outside. A lot of exploration there. And what I realized later on, it's, for me, the best skills that I've ever had. It wasn't the skills in the specific field, it's the human skills. It's bringing people together, is being a leader in the setting that I was in, which, again, to be honest, I didn't realize only after some time, because I was kind of an underdog, came always as an unknown. And, when I came in, people were like, who is this guy? But a year in, I was like, that's amazing. Nothing would have worked without him. So I didn't realize I'm helping people. I'm being a leader in a way. Only later on, through many feedbacks, which I didn't pay attention at the beginning, but people like come to me like, thank you for everything you did. Thank you for everything you did. And it was repetitive. Like, oh, I guess I'm doing something that's greater than being a basketball player or being a soldier that's really impacting people's life. And I went on this journey of really looking in what value I can add to people after my professional career in basketball. And it took time. It was, I would say, about 3 years of exploring many different fields and paths and inside. And I took time off and traveled the world for 6 months, camping and having some crazy experiences in the Himalayas. And I met who is now my wife, and we are together for 5 years. And it all came together some time ago, and where I see cultivating, coaching, leadership, spirit as a way for me to support other people in doing this external to internal journey and pursuing something bigger mission, bigger purpose, and impact the world in this way, in a humane way.
It's really quite interesting, Kier, because you've lived a life of being in high pressure, high functioning environments and what I'm hearing from you as you go is like, it's almost as if your life you've reinvented yourself, or you've taken things in multiple times all throughout this, just your career and your livelihood. And what's interesting to me is the element of not necessarily of feeling like an underdog, of starting, you said like the fourth league when it came to your basketball career, and now even you're out there serving people, you're a coach, you're building your own community here. And even that was, if I'm getting this right here, kind of brought to life because you were just getting feedback from people when you finally were able to receive it, that like you being a part of them was adding something to their lives beyond being on the court. There was something else that was happening as a result of them being around you. Am I getting that right?
Yeah.
Can I ask you, what was that thing? What was the feedback that you heard that was like, hey, when you're here, when we work together, this is able to happen?
It's funny in a way. Many times if I take it to basketball, when I was on the court, you maybe wasn't sure about what I'm doing, but the second I went off the court, people were like, nothing's working, So I think it's like, there's something, I am kind of like more of a quiet guy, and I think there's something there that I'm bringing people into synergy and let them be who they are. And I gain my fulfillment from supporting others and seeing others grow. And especially for me, early in my career, I had no one. No mentor, no one that took me under his wing and like, hey, do you need any help? What's going on? I didn't know anyone from the field. I was really an outlier already back then without knowing. And later on, I said, I'll play a different game. I will do everything I can to support people, younger people or people even my age, but I'll do everything I can to support them. And first, it will make the team better, this is the reason I'm playing basketball, not for my personal trophies. And second, that's amazing to see someone growing because you supported them. But with the younger people, every end of a season, their parents come to me and tell me, thank you for everything you did for my child. And not only the player saying that, but him going every day and tell their parents like, Gilad helped me, and then the end of the season coming to me. So that was, life-changing feedbacks in a way. It has a ripple effect, right? It's not only direct with the person in front of you, they share it with someone who is important to them. And then I get emotional just talking about it.
I can feel it myself. I'm getting emotional.
Yeah.
Like there's an element here, and it's really quite wonderful just to see how naturally that evolved, and how what I get is like at your core, it's almost like you were following a path of like, this is how I show up. I support other people. I love that element of, wait a minute, he's no longer here. He's no longer on the court here. It's no longer working. What's happening? It's almost, the reason I asked that question, and I was kind of curious, is because I could tell that there's some kind of special gift that you have, like your superpower. And I asked you that question in particular because sometimes it's nice to know, like when you leave the court, when you leave the room, when you're not a part of that meeting, what is that gift that you have been bringing that is missing? Mm-hmm. And part of what I'm hearing is like your ability to create synergy is a part of that. For me, it ends up being, someone told me once, she's like, Niiamah, you light up a room whenever you're in it, and you just bring all this energy into it. I was like, I really have no clue what you're talking about. Oh, thank you, Gilad. I appreciate that. I'm like, I have no clue what you're talking about. And she's like, huh. Oh, actually, that makes perfect sense. You've never been in a room without you. And it was one of those things where I was like, huh, that was a moment of actually starting to receive for me, to be able to say, like, perhaps I don't know what it is. Perhaps I can't actually call it out, but it's happening. Mm-hmm. It's like, you've never been on the court without you, but they experience it with and without you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So I'm curious now, we're going to spend more time focused on you and seeing where you are right now in your journey. We were talking here before, and that you're building community. Who are you building community for? Who are you serving right now? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. I see my work in few levels, which first of all, people who transition from a successful career into pursuing something bigger. And for me, it came again from the sport world and special forces, which you have this like amazing career, which is so engaging and mostly joyful, very hard, but mostly joyful. And what's next? It's a big question. So the idea came from there. It's like, you don't need to give up on that, on this fulfillment and engagement and joy and all these amazing feelings that you experience through pursuing something that's your biggest passion. So helping them create the same thing, even more powerful thing in their next career. So this is people I work with. This is people I'm passionate about serving. And it's coming from sports, but it can be someone who had a different career in somewhere else, and now they're ready to create a big change and pursue a bigger purpose, both professionally and personally, because it always goes together. This is what I believe. So that's first. Second level, I'll go back to the beginning. I see it individuals, community, society as the way I want my work to impact. So this is the individual level. So community level, I see doing leadership development with, again, can be coaches in the sport world and teams, but it can also be leaders in the organizations who, from what I experience in those very intense fields, we forget the people are the ones creating the results. And we focus on the challenges and the results, but work the people, put the attention on the people. This is something I feel lacking a lot in many places. So for me, this is something I love doing. Again, like bringing back to the people, bring it back to what's important in the community setting, which can be teams and leaders that have effects on their community. And the society level, which this is a huge project that who will know, what will come through the years, but something really passionate about and curious about even is being this person in the room, kind of supporting, coaching. I don't know what's the title for it, but in the room we're taking the biggest decisions regarding humanity. And bringing influence there to bring it back to the people, to bring it back to what's important. So
I'm feeling you here. I'm really feeling all the levels that are coming out. And I want to make sure that that I got a chance to see the game that you're playing, both now and where you're growing into as well, so I can really serve you in this conversation. What I get is that you're someone of deep heart who is able to create and help create internal and also like create internal synergy, like the ability for someone to actually see themselves and go from that place, and also synergy amongst others to be able to create. And I was actually just reading out, there's the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. And I went back to read it because I realized that a lot of how I choose to see the world, how I've built my business, and some of the things that drive me actually came from that book. It was one of the first books that I read. It was like I've actually been building off it in a lot of different ways. And there's a thing around like seek win-win. And that is they use the word synergy to describe that. So there's an element of that I'm just like really aware of when it comes to you. That's like on my mind as well. Yeah, definitely. So let's do this here. Like, you put your energy into helping to create synergy for others. If we were going to put that energy toward and focus it on you right now, I would love to really support you on something that feels almost out of reach right now, almost impossible. Right. I'm the kind of person that you come to when you're ready to go to your next level. And within that, we'll find a ways to find out what are the tiny steps that need to happen, but I am really curious for you, like, if this was going to be a life-changing conversation, a game-changing conversation for you, right? What would we need to talk about that would take it to those levels?
I think for me in this moment is I feel fairly confident that I can deliver great results for people who come into contact with me, not in a humble way. Just I realize that I have something to give.
All that owning what you're about.
Yeah. So in the first level of it, or with individuals, I'm it's something that I'm growing and building, and it's, starting to come together. For me, I know there are many people there that it would be life-changing for them, what I do. And I think bringing them together, finding them, creating them, let them experience it, this is the challenge. This is always the challenge, I feel, and because you want to be authentic, not going into only marketing. You want people to experience your work. You do it because you love it. So, expanding it in a way that really would create a powerful community for the members of the community, and for me to be the one creating it, but really growing it in growing the reach of it.
So if you had to frame this as a question here, what's the question that's on your mind?
Where are those people that needs my work most now? Needs me the most now? I know where a few of them are, and they are there, but I know there are also many more of them that can be a value for them. And yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So we have about a half hour here. We can probably finish that one in about 15, 20 minutes, right? So if you got the answer to where they were, and you were able to leave here and you're like, okay, yep, like I actually feel like I have a direction on where I would go. And what would we need to talk about next if that answer was taken care of for you?
I like this one. I guess creating this third circle impact, society sized impact, getting there, the individual is something I practice. It is something that is coming together. Where is the back door? Now I'm going to the front door, but where is the back door that, starting from the other way and meeting in the middle instead of digging all the way through?
So when you say like the back door, if I'm getting this right here, what comes to mind is an image of like, okay, you're finding each people individually, one at a time, right? Mm-hmm. And that's building toward community. And you're also saying, is there another way to like go on from the societal level to also come down and support community as well? Am I getting that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I would love to get a sense of your, like, you talked about like experience in you, right? And I'm curious, like, what's the type of experience? What's the experience that you're looking to create? Let me start with that. What's the experience that you're looking to create?
Different levels is a different experience. Working with individuals it's similar to what we do here. Really serve them powerfully.
And you're going to stop serving them powerfully when it goes up to the next levels? Is that?
No, the setting is not one-on-one anymore.
Okay.
So society level is working with a group, which can be at times one person at a time, but it's a group. And society level is, or working with the people that making society impact on society. or me making changes that impacting society. Where one idea I develop, like mission behind it already.
Yeah. Can I ask a question here?
Yeah.
If all of these were actually all the same, right? And like in terms of like your approach to it all, they may have different numbers of people. There might be different levels of impact or influence that you're having through it all. But if at the core of this, all of this was the same, you keep talking about how the individual elements are working out really well for you, right? If you're going, what is it that you're doing on the individual level that you could apply at, let's just go with the community level for now, just to give us a place to land. But what is happening beyond the external, like the outer side of it, right? On the outside of it, it looks like the team is playing really well and they're scoring all these points, but then there's something else that you're doing that's creating synergy such that, this individual stuff is actually working really well. What's that stuff what's that invisible thing that you're doing? Let's just start there without even having to look at it applied to anywhere else. What's that invisible thing that you're doing with individuals right now?
What's the outcome of it, or what?
No,
what do I bring to the table?
Yeah, what do you bring to the table? Like, because right now, yeah, let me just leave it at that. I'm hearing that it's like, oh, well, I have different formats, so things have to change. And my thing is, yeah, maybe the formats will change, but at the end of the day, you're bringing something to the table, and you're just changing the delivery of that thing that you're bringing to the table, right? So I want to try and see what's at the core of it for you when you create an experience, regardless of who or how many people are in the room.
Let's see if I get it right, but I think what people experience from me when we come together is usually they bring all of this, like a lot of noise in their world, a lot of place of need and not want. And this is what many of them bring to the table. And I'm a place of silence for them, to get rid of all of this noise in their life and really going deep down of what's important for me, really bring it down to what's important for them in life, to their values, to where they see themselves as human beings. So yeah, in a world when there's a lot of pressure on what needs to be, what do we need to have, what do we need to achieve in order to, we kind of like taking it the other way around. And what do I want? What I desire?
Yeah, I'm following you on that. Yeah, I'm following you on that. So let me ask you this then, Gilad. What's the noise right now that's showing up in your life and business?
I love big missions. It's something that motivates me. I said I was feeling like an underdog my entire career, which is not always helpful, but for me, it was a huge driving factor that kept me going, because I felt like, I need a little bit extra to not be an underdog, but in a way I always felt like an underdog. So infinite amount of drive I had, that this what generated the results for me. So now I do have this big mission. I am extremely passionate about. I am willing to do everything it takes. It's easier for me to see myself there, and then pursuing something big than pursuing something small in a way, in terms, I don't know if in terms of motivation, but I like thinking very big. I like thinking in world change terms. It might happen, it might not, but this is how I like to think. This is what energizes me. And so, yeah,
So
this
I'm
is
feeling you on that.
the noise is that.
If you had to put it in one sentence, the noise is.
Pursuing this big thing today. Not, yeah,
Yeah.
I see myself there, but and doing it great when I'm there. What's happening today?
Awesome. And then if that's the noise, if pursuing this big thing today is creating a noise, what would silence be for you around this?
I think more doing it than thinking about it, maybe, or more the practice than creating the practice, I think.
There's something when you say that feels energetically aligned, right? Like knowing your background, even just using the word practice, you know what practice means from high school to professional. Like what it's like to be in practice. You've been in armed forces. Like you know what it's like to have to like be in that kind of discipline as well, to do the discipline, as opposed to thinking about the discipline or strategizing around it.
Yeah.
And so what if, right? The other thing here, I'm gonna just reflect back some things here. What's happening right now when I say that to you right there? What is there anything that happened inside when I said that to you?
I keep playing with, bringing basketball into life and life into basketball. And there is something about this sense of play, when the preparation is extraordinary. And then you're in the court, it's just, there is no thinking, there is no, I need to do that. It just like happens. You can't change already, the preparation is very changed. I feel like I'm in all the preparation now and not enough in play. Which this is what you love to do. You do the preparation for these moments that let you express it.
So if you were just gonna have one game, right? And what we'll do is like, don't worry about the season, don't worry about your career, right? But if you were just in this game may not even be a game that like counts towards it. It's just a scrimmage, If we were just going to have one game, one scrimmage that allowed you to go and play and to start honing in how your preparation, how you might need to prepare for like the next game afterwards, right? How can you break down, let's stay on the community level right now, or whatever level you want. How can you break down what it is that you're trying to get done next to just one simple scrimmage where you can play? And the outcome of it is completely irrelevant toward your actual career, but you got a chance to play. How might you create that?
The image that come to my head is, being in front of a room of people, I don't know, 20, 30 people, that it will really create an impact on them. It can be different kind of settings. It can be with youth through high school that maybe dreaming of being athletes or something like that, and it looks impossible for them, but it looked impossible to me too. I see it with people that live in this loop of life, of like, this is what needs to be done. Once I'll have this title or this job description, then I will be that. Then happiness will kick in, or those stories that it's easy to fall into. But there's something about standing in front of the room and not as being the focus, just as something that's like higher level game and excites me to do. That I feel like something that now feels like, oh, like I would love to do that. It will bring so much joy and energy that,
And that's really important, because what I've been finding about the world-changing game is that it's very heavy. There's a lot of responsibility. There's a lot of burden. There's a lot of how do we go and make all these things happen on a really, it's a heavy game, So being able to have tools that allows us to play a heavy game with joy, with lightness, and most importantly, with the energy to sustain and to keep going is actually quite immense.
Yeah, I know this one.
You know that one.
Yeah.
Tell me about how. Tell me about what it is that you know around it from your story.
It's easy to, for me at least, it's easy to commit all in, and doesn't matter what you do it. You're exhausted, you're not, you're injured, you're not, you're still having fun, you suffer, just you keep going. It's way harder to have a balance and to keep the joy and to take care of the person, not the performer, the person in life. And in basketball, you take care of the athlete. You don't take care well enough of the person behind the athlete. So yeah,
it sounds like I'm also hearing. Go ahead.
It's easy to go all in, and and just I can be very focused on one thing and go all in on it. I know it's not the game now. I know it's not at this point in my life. I know it's not the game I play. It's creating synergy. It's creating balance, both in personal life and both in professional life.
I'm going to reflect some things to you for a little bit. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Let me just how did you just said take care of the person. It's like you can take care of the athlete, but people aren't taking care of the person. And I also heard what sounded like something very similar when you were talking about organizations. And I'll use just kind of making a translation here. It's like organizations will take care of the employee. They'll have the employee engagement activities, will have all those things there, but are they taking care of the person that's underneath all that?
Mm-hmm.
And that feels like a very it's a way that you see the world. I just want to kind of call out for you there, because it seems like it translates to multiple places. Your story speaks to it as the athlete. Am I right in assuming that there are elements where you're actually really taken care of as a professional athlete, but in terms of who Gilad was, like that was left off the table?
Definitely.
And am I right in the sense of you felt like an underdog your entire life. You know what it's like to go all in. You know what it's like to have to go through injury and to suffer and to just keep going in order to get to something bigger. But as that's happening, you're living out more on the surface. The athlete part of you is being taken care of, but the internal part inside of it is actually going through more suffering than you might actually give yourself credit to bring to life.
Yeah.
Are you telling that story in the world right now?
More and more. I don't know if enough. I don't know what's enough. Definitely more than I used to. Because I used to be more source of support than the one being supported, and I used to do everything by myself. So, but yeah.
And I'm going to ask you this: can you see how there could? This feels very I'll just reflect because it feels very leading that question. But it's in my mind, what I've found is there's a way that you sharing your story can be of great support. it's actually really interesting. You talked earlier about labels earlier, and one of the things that I have like I gravitate in and out of is calling myself a coach, right? Because I'm like, I don't know what the magic is that I do, but like there's magic in the room, and people are going to leave here with different ways of thinking about things that they were completely stuck on.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do this, sometimes I do, and it took me a while to realize that sharing my story and sharing stories is one of the best ways that I support people.
Mm-hmm.
I can ask powerful questions all day long. I can sit down with, and sometimes just letting them know that I've been there, and giving them a chance to experience their life through the lens of my story,
Mm-hmm.
and the way that you made sense of it and the way that you went about it and all that supports them more than an actual direct going directly heads on.
Mm-hmm.
There are, and there's something about you where like your story, there's things that are happening out here where it's like, it sounds like this is what a coach does. A coach wants to help you get your best potential. A coach wants you to get into like live your best life. A coach wants to help you see all that stuff. It sounds like, okay, that's coach, right? In which case you're like, where are my people? All your people is everyone around you, right? Like everyone, like to some extent or another, they're looking for that. The thing is that your people are asking themselves the same question. They're asking themselves, where's my person? I'm going out here and I'm watching this person and I'm learning from this person, or like, but they're feeling alone. They're feeling like an underdog on their own. They're excited by really big missions in the world, but they don't know how to like start bringing it out to life there. Right. And so there's an element of what I am hearing here where I'm like, how can you show up as a beacon for those people as opposed to having to necessarily like always go out and go and find them? How would they know that you are their person?
For me, I'll take it in a funny way, but I said at the beginning, I don't really use social media. It's not my medium. I'm into personal connection. So obviously, it makes it a little bit harder
Does it though?
to, at least in maybe in a bigger way, faster. Let's put it in
Can we play
this
with
way.
that?
Which, yeah, of course.
Like because I am asking myself that question a lot. We're having this conversation here. Like, notice this will go up on social media. This will be in all the places, and then there's work that I need to go and do to get people to go watch this video. There's things like there are elements of this here where I'm a part of a high level mastermind with people who like don't do very much on social media at all, and they're consistently making an impact. They're reaching out individually to the community leaders who maybe that organization itself feels like an underdog, or maybe that organization is treating their employees as employees and as opposed to as people. And they aren't reached by social media. So my thing is like, there's a thing that you do, like you don't do social media. That's wonderful. Awesome. Like, let's not try and make that into something that you need to do, because quite frankly, it has diminishing results as it goes along. Right. It feels like you want to, go out there and help teams create synergy. Right now, there's an element of the question that's like, how do you go and create all these different teams? And, the other side of it might be like, where are there teams right now that are waiting for you to come in there? You want to talk, and you're great at the individual stuff, right? Yeah. You want to talk to a room full of 20 to 30 people. It is not about going, you may not need to go out and invite 20 to 30 people and there are 60 people to get that number. What if it was as simple as you just going in and having that first scrimmage by making it a conversation with someone who is a leader of a department, leader of a group, and you share your story. You share your story of like what it's like to work in high performing, high functioning environments your entire life. What it's like to be there and feel like the underdog. What it's like to start from wherever you are, fourth league, and to be able to make an entire career out of it. And you connect in that way. And rather than having to go out and find all these different individuals there, you find one person because you're great at the individual stuff. And rather than enrolling that one person into a one-on-one, well, it would probably be a one-on-one conversation, but the opportunity there to then go off and serve through that means. How does that sit for you to be able to keep doing what it is that you do really well, but just ask for a different outcome as a result of it?
That's good. But a question to me that I need to explore more, and I think for me would be good, is where is the court? You know, like I used to go into the court every morning and do what I do. Where is the court now? Where is it? Where are those places that I go and do what I do?
And at the same time, like the court right now, you had said earlier, it's like, is it like you said something like, is it basketball as a life, or how can I bring basketball into life and life into basketball? And when you said it, the word for me was like, what if basketball is life? Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're living in your court right now. Right. You're actually playing the game already. And I think that the where question is a bit of a misnomer. Right. The where questions, they're everywhere around you. It might be the who question that might be interesting to go with, and the who rather than where. And then take this big thing that you do. I mean, like in my mind, I'm wondering what's the fourth league of the community that you want to build, of the society that you want to have, right? You said multiple times in this conversation that you're like, I didn't know how to get there, but I just knew where to start. And then it all made sense looking backwards. And right now you're trying to play this new game out here of like, I'm looking forward and I'm trying to make sense of it. And you said multiple times in this conversation, it all makes sense looking backwards.
Spot on. Yeah.
Right. What's the noise and what's the silence for you? And operate more on where you have that silence. One game, one conversation, one audience, fine. There's something you bring to the table that's very unique to others. You're not just like all the other coaches out there. Because there's certain people who are distinctly interested in working with you because of who you are and because you see the life the way that you have. How can you create one experience for them to get that? And maybe it's not 20 to 30 people. Maybe it's 5 people. And you're like, hey, you know what? You're 5 people that I've come in contact with that I just think like what you're doing, like you have done this as an underdog. You know what it's like to be injured and keep going from it all. And I know that most other people in the world will look at you and say, wow, this person's a high performer, a high achiever. This person's like rocket ship, such an amazing professional or an amazing entrepreneur, but they've forgotten the fact that you're also a person. And so for me, I like to create a place of silence where we can slow down and get away from the noise of having to be any of those things and actually take care of the person that's underneath any of those titles. Yeah. So I'm inviting 5 people together in 3 weeks for this experience. I'll share my story, you'll share some of yours, and we'll actually be able to create silence or whatever it is that you do, create some synergy that can take care of us so we can go back out into the world from there. How does something like that sound to you?
It feels right in this moment. It feels right. Yeah. It feels like silence.
So let's leave it at that there. You know, I mean, it's one thing to have to get to this place here. I'm really interested in your journey as you continue going on. I know that, you know, there's no part of me that wants to look at this. Sometimes it's easier to have a 40-minute conversation or a 30-minute conversation than something that's elongated.
Yeah.
But like you have in this conversation shared with us your success path, right? And I talked about multiple parts of my compass. You know, if silence is one of your compass that lets you know, then great. and playing, just getting and play as well, right?
Mm.
So let's leave that there with the silent, with what you have there. Send me a message. I'll follow up in like a few days. Let me know how things are going as a result, as it comes to that. And let's keep that silence going as it best serves you.
Sounds wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you, Gilad.
Thank you, Niiamah. I really appreciate it and appreciate you for doing what you're doing for me and for the rest of your community. That's, yeah. Keep doing it.
That's an honor.